Hello my friends, and welcome to a new video. I wanted to come to you today and talk to you about something because I've been seeing a bunch of videos popping up in my various feeds on X and whatnot about Star Wars, and more specifically the Empire, and how the Empire is being, and Star Wars in general, is being used as a political tool to try and bash our current political leaders, and trying to compare, without actually saying it, Donald Trump to Emperor Palpatine, and trying to draw similarities between these two things. And I'm not doing a flashy video. I'm not gonna have a bunch of clips in here today. It's just gonna be me talking plain to these morons and retards, because you're the reason that Star Wars was ruined in the first place. You're the reason that our Star Wars, Star Trek, and everything else has been turned into garbage. Now you want to take those very same properties and use them again as some kind of overarching theme to describe your psychosis, your furthering psychosis, okay? If you look at it specifically, seriously, and in depth, there are no similarities between the Empire and the Trump administration, okay? Other than they're both leadership groups. MAGA is not the Empire. The woke liberals you are not the rebellion. You are the people that gave rise to the Empire, okay? Everything that's happening now, everything that President Trump is having to do now, is in direct response to the lawlessness that has been allowed to continue and to go on under several previous administrations. This is just basically the reckoning for all of the lawlessness and the evil and the abuse of power that has been happening in the United States for decades. This is a shifting back to law and order instead of anything goes willy-nilly. Somebody was trying to say that the Empire is all about impressing order and normality on everybody. Normality had nothing to do with it. The Empire was trying to impress order, like absolute order under a tyrannical boot and stuff. That's not what's happening now, okay? Donald Trump isn't trying to stay in office longer than he's supposed to. Now, there have been people around him that float the possibility of him getting a third term. That's not even possible. It's not even allowed. There's an amendment to the Constitution that absolutely prevents him from doing so. They would have to amend the Constitution in order to do that. And nobody, at least me personally, as someone who voted for the guy, I'm not going to vote for that. And I would not be okay with them trying to do that unless they do it the absolute right way, unless you amend the Constitution, because before FDR, presidents could stay in office multiple terms. But after FDR, they realized what a bad idea that was, that the president tends to accumulate too much power, especially if he's a popular president and he can start to do things that aren't good. And it was a Democratic president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, that led us to that conclusion. Even the Democrats of the day realized that FDR was dangerous, and allowing presidents to serve long periods of time and to gain, super popularity and stuff like that, so like some kind of rock star and a cult personality, was a bad thing. The Democrats and the Republicans realized that. It's a pity that they don't realize that the senators and representatives also need to be term limited. But I mean, they'd have to vote that in, and that's never going to happen. So, because that's about their power. They wanted to limit the president, not themselves. They want to just sit in there and pretend like they're doing something and make millions of dollars, despite the fact that they very rarely actually do anything worth having them there in the first place, except ruin our lives and try and steal our freedoms. And pretend that they're doing it for our benefit with so stupid things like seatbelt laws and other things like that. That should be a personal responsibility, not a law enforced by police officers. And that's the problem. They've overburdened our police officers with a bunch of crappy laws that don't actually help anybody. that only steal freedoms and make the government responsible, where we, the people, should be personally responsible for our own choices and our own problems. Anyway, but this twisting of the Star Wars story and the franchise, to me, is absolutely disgusting. Okay, you are not heroes. Okay, you are not the rebellion. You are the people that gave rise to the Empire. You are the ones who supported and helped people like Palpatine come to power by encouraging lawlessness, by encouraging horrible things to happen, by allowing crime and things to become out of control, by proposing that there is no right and wrong and no rules, and you should just give away your stuff and nobody should own anything, and this is stolen land, and this is all of your liberal bullshit that you push out there gave rise to the Empire, because it created a lawless criminal enterprise that eventually the people got so sick of that they actually gave themselves over to a tyranny. That's the true story there. And that's the story throughout history. Every time a dictator and a tyrant has come to power, it's been because the people required a strong man to try and bring back into focus some kind of lawful behavior amongst the populace, because the representatives and the people let their passions become unruly. They started breaking their own laws. They started voting themselves to steal money from other people through legislatures and stuff like that. There's a quote in The Patriot that I love, that where he's talking about, this is during the Revolutionary War, and why should he said, why should I trade one tyrant 3,000 miles away for 3,000 tyrants 1 mile away? And that a Senate or a Congress can trample the rights of a citizen just like a king can. And that's the thing. If we don't maintain checks and balances, if we, the people, do not uphold and force them to be good, honest, decent men and women who are in the leadership roles that we put them in, servant roles actually, then we're responsible for our own destruction. And when you allow chaos and that stuff to erupt long enough, then the people will turn to someone who says, I will stop it. I will fix it. That's what happened in Germany. That's how Hitler came to power, was because things were so bad, and the politicians of the day were so inept to be able to fix these things, and they all wanted credit. They didn't want to fix the problems unless they got credit for it, and they squabbling amongst each other while the people suffered. Well, that gave rise to someone who said, I'll fix it. I'll make the trains run on time. I'll make your lives better. I'll get rid of all of this, with all of the decadence and evil that was happening in the streets of Germany, the brothels and the I can't even remember what they called them at the time. But basically it was like horrible theater where sex acts were performed and then perversions were rampant and the general population was tired of it, and so they turned to a psycho in Hitler to try and get relief. The problem is when you hand power over to one person, unless they're an extremely great man, like say George Washington, who voluntarily gave up the power. George Washington, they wanted him to be king. They wanted him to be king, and he said no. You need that kind of a man who's going to take that power, fix the problems, and then give it back. And the problem is it's very rare to find those kind of people. But all you people out there talking about how Star Wars and Trump's the Empire and he's Palpatine no, you're Palpatine. Each one of you that are promoting all of this wickedness and this evil and this decadentness and lawlessness, you're Palpatine. You are just little Palpatines creating these bubbles of chaos that are going to do nothing but cause problems. You've been taught to hate your own country. You've been taught that wickedness is happiness, and it isn't. It never will be. It is the fundamental law of the universe that wickedness is not happiness. It looks like happiness, but usually it all comes crashing down in the end. Now, I just wanted to get on here and say that because I am sick and tired of people trying to abuse Star Wars and these franchises that I love by pretending they understand these great deep things about what George Lucas was trying to say. They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue, and they don't understand history, and they don't realize where we are in history and the fact that we are this close to falling into a real tyranny, and not by Donald Trump, by the people on the other side he's fighting against. He's trying to get us back to center. He's trying to square the country up in the middle. He's not trying to push us far right. Obeying laws and having borders and having rule of law, that's not right wing. That's common sense. That's just reality. And as far as you guys saying that they want to enforce normality, normality isn't something that has to be forced. Normality is just normal. Normality is just normality. And you either are or you're not. You're either trying to push on the fringes, right, left, up, down, whatever. You're trying to push on the fringes or you're not. Now people like, oh, normies are the worst. No, normies are the people that make this world and this country and everything work, while all of the idiots on the fringes try and push us into chaos. Most of us, we just want to live our lives. We just want to be able to provide for our families, have a good, safe country where police respect the citizens and the citizens respect the police, and parents respect their children respect them, and everybody is taught to be better, to be more than what they are. That's what that story is about. That's what it's trying to say. Star Wars is trying to say is don't let freedom get lost. Don't push into the chaos, because that always leads to a tyrant. And it's not going to be Trump. It's going to be somebody on your side, because it's always somebody on the left. Hitler was a leftist. Stalin was a leftist. Mao was a leftist. All of these people who have been the most horrendous tyrants in history, they're all leftists. They're all liberals. They're all people who wanted to enforce their wickedness on everybody. And that's where we end up. And so you can pretend that you understand that story, but obviously you don't. You've missed some seriously key elements, because George Lucas founded that story based on history, things that actually were happening, things that had happened in the past. Now, he talked about it being Vietnam and how we were trying to destroy the Vietnamese. I think George misunderstood some history there, because, I mean, he told a great story, but I don't think he quite understood what led to that story. I don't think he understood the history that he was trying to explain. He managed to do it in spite of himself, and probably because of the other people that were around him that helped on the Star Wars franchise and kept George from going batshit crazy. Because we all saw what happened with the prequels when they didn't do that. When somebody wasn't there to rein him in and make him understand that, hey, I know this is what you think, but this isn't how the world really works, George. You know, that's what gave us The Empire Strikes Back, the best Star Wars out of them all. I like Return of the Jedi, but everybody loves Empire. Empire is not what George wanted. George wanted something different. It was the director of Empire that gave us Empire, the way we got it now. Anyway, thank you guys for being here. Thanks for watching this. Sorry to be heavy again today, but I couldn't take one more loser mouthing off about Star Wars and how the Empire's Trump and Trump's the Empire and he's Palpatine. Shut up. You people are clueless. And stop embarrassing yourself by putting yourselves on video talking about stuff you have no idea about. It's embarrassing. Just let it go. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next time. Bye now.